Absolutely, you need to, straight up.
Yeah.
So anyway, look, you've been doing a lot of, tell me a little bit about you. I mean, you've been doing economic development, and we have bounced around each other for, it feels like a lifetime.
Well,
how did you actually get into it? But let's just start there.
It's interesting.
It has got to be.
I'll tell you, I ran away from Rocky Mount in 2008 when I graduated high school.
Most all of us did.
I was like, okay, I got into 12 schools and I'm going to the furthest away.
Yeah,
so I went to
I tried that
too. I wanted to stay in state, but I just didn't want to be in like driving distance. I didn't want my mama coming over and stuff.
I understand.
So, went to UNC Charlotte, and then I went to broadcasting school. I worked on the Bob and Sherry morning show. I did some stand-up comedy while I was there, and then I got into marketing. But I told myself,
well, you can't just dance over the stand-up comedy stuff.
It was interesting. I had a funny life, so I didn't have to write jokes.
You just telling your story.
I just went on stage and talked about myself, and people always laughed. I never got booed, so I was like, I must be good. But I told my grandma I was coming home for 6 months.
Yeah.
July will make 7 years that I've been back in Rocky Mount. I didn't work for the first year. I was just staying home with my son. And then I started working at Parker Middle School. And it was interesting because kids have really changed since the last time I was in middle school. A lot of their focuses were things that I didn't have to think about until I was like 19, 20.
Sure.
And so since I was back home, I'm like, what can I do? I mean, I know that I was trying to make a difference with the kids, but I'm like, what can I really do to make a difference? And I saw the position with the downtown development coordinator, and that was with the city of Rocky Mount.
Yeah.
And John Jessel gave me a chance.
Yeah.
So I started with downtown, and I really enjoyed it because I never knew the struggles of small business owners and entrepreneurs. And most of their struggle was marketing, and that was my area of expertise. And so it just was perfect. So I did that for about 2 years, and then I became the site coordinator for Peacemakers and oversaw their after-school program. And then I got recruited to the Department of Commerce to basically do what I was doing in Rocky Mount, but on the state level through Downtown Strong. And it was just interesting to see these little bitty communities that were having such huge impact. And it was just because they had strong support from their city staff, their downtown staff, and their small business centers. So when Teresa retired, I said, well, let me try and apply for this. And they gave me a chance, and I'm back working in my community, no longer commuting to Raleigh every day, and working with familiar faces and just building on those partnerships that she started and creating new ones.
Well, I appreciate your humbleness here, which you've done a lot. There's a lot in that statement, right? I mean, but let's talk about small business, because I don't think a lot of people do get it. You've got somebody who's got a dream, and they scrape together enough money, capital, and go and try to open up their dream, whether it's a sandwich shop or a dress shop or whatever. And nobody really understands the mechanics of the math a lot of times, and they certainly don't know how to get people in the door, because oftentimes they've already spent their money, on merchandising whatever it is they're selling and creating their space. But folks don't know how to get there. They don't know how to get there. And marketing is expensive.
It is.
For a small business owner, doing revenues of somewhere between $200,000 and call it $800,000 a year, it's a big number. So how do you do it? How do you help somebody there?
Luckily, they have the Queen of Frugal on their side.
There you go.
Because I work with all my clients on little to no cost marketing that they can implement immediately. So they don't have to worry about spending too much money up front. Most of the tactics that I show them are free. And then maybe getting them to put a little bit of money into boosting some Facebook posts. But I show them how to use some free websites to make their marketing material. And then I showed them how to utilize the community and the colleges that we have around here. Even if they can't afford to hire an employee, they can probably afford some kind of stipend for an intern. And so, just talking to them about the low-cost ways they can market and how they can get some help with that. A lot of my older clients, you know, they have been all these years trying to stay away from getting online, and I don't want no Facebook. And, and then COVID happened, and they're like, okay, so teach me how to use this, teach me how to set it up. And so those are just some basic things that I can do. Getting them on Google. A lot of businesses, legacy businesses, have been around here for years and never thought about getting on Google. And so just teaching them how to get on Google for free. If they don't have the money to pay a web designer or even pay the monthly hosting fee for a website, well, Google gives businesses a free landing page. So they still at least have that website button that someone can click and learn a little bit about them. So marketing is
well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, 'cause I went to the Mill, had a seminar on that. You may have had something to do with that. It was about Google and Gmail and how to use the tools to enhance your small business and the various tools that are free, that Google just offer. Well, it's not free, you're giving up information in exchange for, but still you get the use of the tool for no money. And so the other thing I learned is, you know, in campaigning, how effective social media is at targeting, I mean, just perfectly your audience. I mean, you know, if you're looking for Latino males between the ages of I don't know, 14 and 18, tag on if you can't figure out how to do that. If you're looking for Caucasian men, you know, 50 to 60, I mean, it's like, I don't know how the algorithms work, but it sure does work.
Yeah, I was talking with the client about that today because for most of the programs, especially Launch Rocky Mount, instead of me trying to spend big dollars on all these ads, I just I think I spent about $40 doing an ad, and we received like 78 applications. And we are able to put in the demographic we want to reach, the area we want to reach, a 25-mile radius of Nashville or Rocky Mount, and then they let you put in the keywords. So if anybody has searched those keywords on Facebook and you have those keywords for your post, then boom, you're showing up on their newsfeed, and they don't know where you came from, but they're glad they saw it.
At least I hope they are.
But I love the Facebook ads, and so I do talk with a lot of my clients about how to use them. Because a lot of times they just think, oh, I got to spend some money so people can see a post. Well, you don't have to spend $5 if you don't want to, and you're still going to reach at least 200 to 300 people that don't currently like your page.
Well, that was the thing that I did like about it, is that everybody listens to the radio or reads the newspaper or watches a little TV, but if you're buying an ad, you're buying it for a specific time of day, and you're hoping that your audience is there, right? But social media, everybody's doing it at least once a day, and if you're targeting your audience, there's a good chance your message is going to get across if you're in the first hour or 2 or 3. Now, my friend, you know, was it the average adult learner needs to hear something 7 times or 7 impressions before a brand is created or something such as that. But
well, you're popping up. You might go and write on your friend's wall and come back to that news feed, and you might see the same ad again.
That's right.
But that's good.
That is good. All right, so that's how you ended up, you know, kind of doing that. Tell me about what's going on in Nash County and your new job, and welcome back home. I know, you know, the commute's nice because you get some stuff done. But, you know, little things like getting your hair done, you know, going grocery shopping become kind of difficult with just a little bit of a commute.
Well, not really, because we do have a great president. So on Fridays, we close at 1. So I usually, you know, get my work errands done and my hair done Friday through Sunday. But Nash is great. I have a very supportive dean. I have a supportive president. And then everybody, we try to collaborate on campus. I've done collaborations with the cosmetology department, so we, you know, tailored a webinar just to the cosmetologists on how to pivot, because a lot of cosmetologists were caught off guard by not being able to go in their shops. So they're like, okay, this is my source of income, and I've had to close my shop down. Same with barbers, but just talking to them about how to create some income during that time. So, you know, we were able to discuss like offering webinars webinars on
Right.
how to do it yourself or
Right.
creating a product line. I've also been able to collaborate with like the success coaches.
Uh-huh.
So tomorrow we're going to do a session for our students who are interested in entrepreneurship. Just
Awesome.
talking to them about what it is and
Right.
what resources are available on
Well,
the campus.
just go there a little bit. I mean, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I just love that, you know.
yeah.
So I want to hear what you have to say. What's being offered out there?
Well, one thing about it is we have Sonia Small, who's our career placement director.
Okay.
And what she does is she can hook them up with internships and job shadowing opportunities. But then they have me.
Exactly.
They have me at the
Queen of
small
Frugal, is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm the
marketing
Queen of
guru.
So, you know, once they have that idea, I help them to flesh it out.
Uh-huh.
So most people think, you know, I don't need a business plan until I'm trying to get funding.
Yeah.
And so I just talk to them about the logic in having a business plan.
Right.
Because a lot of people call and they're like, I'm trying to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. And they have all these great ideas and these thoughts of how they can make it work.
Right.
But if you're just trying to ramble it off the top of your head, then I can't. Sometimes I can follow. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you know,
Right,
make it make sense
right.
for me. But I tell everybody start with that business plan. Because the business plan is going to help you get your ideas onto paper, and so now you have some goals and objectives to work towards, and we can start working piece by piece, make a little timeline.
And the other thing it does is it forces you to build a pro forma, you know, to anticipate what your business expenses and revenues are going to be. And if you can't make it work on the pro forma, you're not going to make it work in real life.
Yep.
And that discipline matters, I think, for folks. And,
it does.
And you're right. I mean, look, I've been there. Ooh, this is a great idea. I'll make it happen. Well, you know, by not planning, it cost me a lot more of my time, effort. Well, I used to have a whole head of hair with an undercoat and had a beautiful color to it, and all that just left me, you know. But but no, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. So, are a lot of people out there interested in being entrepreneurs?
So I don't know how many people are registered for tomorrow because that is through the success coaches.
Right.
But we do have a lot of. I think for Thursday we have about 20 people signed up, which is good because we are doing the entrepreneurship boot camp, and we've been doing webinars all year, and we actually are doing this boot camp in person. And every Thursday we've had people in the classroom.
Great.
So that's awesome. Then, like I said, we have 20 people signed up for this Thursday. We partnered with the Small Shops Marketplace, and so Fred is our presenter for those camps. And what I love about Fred is he's able to kind of talk to them about ways to leverage current resources that are available, where, you know, they might think, oh, I need to find a loan to make this happen.
Right.
How can you do this with under a certain amount?
You know, I like Fred's program for that reason. We've talked a little bit, but you know, by owning a kiosk, and it gives you a chance to see if you really even like it.
Right.
Before you've invested your life savings. You know, it's a big deal.
Yes. And then just talking to them about other ways to finance businesses, because everybody just thinks, I need a grant, I need a loan. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news all the time, but I'm just like, okay, startup grants are kind of myths.
Yeah, right.
And then especially now, since like all of the grants that are available are being targeted to people that were already in business before the pandemic.
Just keep them alive.
Yeah. So people who are starting businesses and they're like, oh, I can get a grant. I'm just like, honestly, let's look at some other ways. And so,
how long are you willing to wait for that grant?
So luckily there are some avenues that they haven't even thought about, like crowdfunding. Kickstarter is one.
So have you had a lot of experience with Kickstarter, crowdfunding? That's a new concept to me, and I've gone out and checked. I know Larima used it for their startup, or part of their startup, and he was reasonably successful at it. But I don't know enough about it other than to be conversant.
The only thing about Kickstarter is they have certain categories that your business idea has to fit into before you can even use it. And then the only other thing that I don't like is the fact that, say for instance, your goal with Kickstarter is $100,000 and you raise $80,000. Well, they won't pay you because you didn't reach your goal. And I'm like, oh. So the money goes back to those backers.
Sure.
I've had some success with Kiva, which is a nonprofit organization that does crowdfunding, but they have their own pool of lenders. And so it's like 1.9 million lenders that they have. And so Kiva,
so that becomes actually a loan then.
It is a loan.
Sort of like a Lloyd's of London, where you have a confederation of different lenders out there saying, I'll buy 2% of that loan, or about 10% of it, or whatever.
And the thing about it is the lenders, they can give you like the minimum is $25.
Okay.
So it's not like they're losing a huge amount if someone doesn't pay back. But
so they're non-recourse then? I mean, they're no personal guarantees or anything like that?
Well, no personal guarantees, but we do encourage that if they go through the Small Business Center, especially one of our programs, we're a trustee, so I can endorse their application and say, this person is going to pay back. Right. And I've had some people from our Launch Rocky Mount program go through the program, complete it, and I endorse their application, and they have received funding through Kiva.
Okay.
And they go up to $15,000, but I haven't seen them give any more than $8,000 so far.
I got you.
But for a
small startup, that's a big deal. A big deal.
And there's no interest and no fees because they are a nonprofit.
Okay.
I think they give them about 6 months after they receive the funding before they have to start paying back. And then I know the longest term is 30 years, but I don't know how you get eligible for that one.
Right.
Because most of the terms that I've seen
why would it take you 30 years to pay back $15,000? That seems a little. Got some challenges there too, right?
Yeah, my clients, their terms have been no more than like 36 months.
I was going to say 3 to 5 years sounds kind of like about right in that deal.
But I saw one guy, because I went to Kiva just to see some of the funded projects, and his term was 30 years, and I'm just like, I don't get that one.
Right.
But hey, it's nice that they gave him the option.
Well, look, how do I access your services? I mean, I have to go to Nash Community College, or can I just go knock on your door?
So we are open to work with anybody in Nash County.
Okay.
I have had people from other counties say, hey, I want to work with you at Nash County. And honestly, if they choose to work with Nash, they can.
Sure,
but I do let them know, hey, you have Edgecombe, and you have Wilson. But hey, it's up to them, totally their preference. But they would just go to the website, our Nash Community College Small Business Center page, and it's request free counseling.
Gosh, I can just tell you love it. I mean, you just love this stuff, don't you?
And I'm telling you, people have their different talents and what they're good at, and my talent is talking. And I'm a great
got other talents other than talking, but
I've thought about them, and I'm like, I'm just really good with talking to people. So that has always been my thing. When I graduated from broadcasting school, I worked on the Bob and Sherry morning show, and they just always gave me the opportunity to talk about my life because Tierra loves to talk. And so being that I have had so much experience in different fields, I can usually either relate to what the entrepreneur is going through, or I know a contact for them to reach out to.
There you go. The Rolodex matters, right? Let me share this with you. I do want to hear a little bit about broadcast school, and you obviously have gone sort of a different path, but I could certainly see you in broadcasting. I'm sure you loved it every day.
I really did. I worked so after I finished board operating with Bob and Sherry, I worked in the marketing department with promotions. So I was a promotions assistant for about 3 years. I did marketing for a local magazine.
A lot of work.
And then Mack Trucks, they had a marketing position available at their Charlotte headquarters. So I was like, oh, let me apply. And then I got the job, and next thing you know, it was me calling people.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, well, this is an aspect of marketing, isn't it?
But not the part I like.
It wasn't the part I like, but it did show me that not everybody is running from those calls. Because in my head, I always thought, okay, when you're calling somebody, you're annoying them, they're not going to answer, they're going to get off the phone real quick. But it showed me that some people are willing to talk to you. It just depends on what demographic you're trying to reach. And
it's just a number, right?
It really is.
I make 100 phone calls. I don't know, 25 answer the call. Of the 25, 5 of those will talk to me. Of the 5, 1 will buy something from me, whatever the number is. But there's a formula always.
And it was a formula that I never thought I would learn
or wanted to.
So I really kind of learned all aspects of marketing just from my time in Charlotte, and those skills have translated back home because a lot of the relationships that I'm building. Recently, we got a new partnership with Rocky Mount Housing Authority,
Right.
because they have their family self-sufficiency program.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I know y'all have people who want to start businesses, so let me work with them. And I think they have about 20 clients they're going to send me in the next 90
I think
days.
that's outstanding.
So I really feel like the fact that I am from Rocky Mount,
Sure,
and
sure.
I kind of know the demographic here, and I know how to reach those different demographics, really is fulfilling.
Well, I personally think what you're doing is almost at level of a mission, you know, because you're enabling people to understand who they are, how to make a living for themselves, and not depend on someone else. You know, all too often I hear, well, I need to get a job, and that somehow or another that's created a thought of stability in your mind. But the reality is, if I'm working for somebody else, I'm not guaranteed the job from day to day to day. And I'm still subject to market forces. So at some point, being entrepreneurial, if you've got that in you, not everybody's built that way, but if you have that in you, is giving somebody, it's teaching a kid how to fish. You know, and I think that's a big deal, and I really do salute you and thank you for what you're doing. And I'll tell you, I'd love to help you in any way I can, because I do think it's so important. You know, most businesses, I don't know the exact number, I see different percentages, but between 95% and 80% of all employers have less than 50 employees on their roster. So small businesses and startups, while there are a lot of dead bodies on the side of the road to success, really is the path for most people to be able to achieve it, if they understand the marketing piece.
Yeah, and aside from the marketing, just wanting to build some generational wealth.
That's right.
Because a lot of my clients are first-time entrepreneurs.
That's right.
So they don't have someone in their family that they can reach out to and say, hey, can you show me the ropes, or how to do this? So some soft skills that I teach that you wouldn't even think would be needed, just professional etiquette,
Absolutely.
How to schedule meetings and actually show up.
On time. That's a pet peeve of mine. That's a pet peeve of mine.
Yes, or even, answering email, because a lot of people, I don't use my email, can you just text it to me? Well, you want to be a small business owner, you got to get used to that email.
That's right.
So I just know that I can't write them off just because they're not knowledgeable on some of the basic things, because most of the time they didn't have someone in their family that ran a successful business. Because we come from, in this area, with the tobacco and the manufacturing, getting a job at, Cummins or Pfizer, those are great jobs to have, and some people
no question about it,
still just want to work. So for that person in the family who everyone had worked 30 years at a factory, and they're that one person in their family that says, I want to start my own business, well, who are they going to reach out to about how to do it? And then sometimes I'm the bearer of bad news again, because we have a lot of people who want to do catering businesses and food-based businesses, and they're like, well, the best way for me to start is to register my business with the state and then do plate sales. And I'm like, no, it's illegal.
Yeah, I know, right?
And so,
I'm being the bearer of bad news. What you're doing is you're being the shepherd. You're showing where the path is, right?
Well,
so
I like that.
That's really, and just because somebody has a preconceived notion that the direction's over here and the reality is it's over here, it's about getting folks to reorient, right? And you've done them a great service in their life.
It's just hard for them to understand where I'm coming from the perspective of, okay, if you didn't get this inspected, you really can't do it. You need a shared commercial kitchen or something. But they're like, well, people are buying from me. I have, customers, and people buy from me every Friday. And I'm just like, okay. So what I'm doing with that is I have hired a consultant, Danny Black. She works with restaurants, and she does a lot of the hardcore what inspectors are looking for and how to start your food business. So we're doing a series called From Plate Sale to Full Scale. And so we're going to talk to them about why it's illegal. What can you legally do in your home that is food oriented? But one of my dreams, and I'm going to accomplish this goal in the next year or two. But I've noticed that it took off in Charlotte. There was one commercial kitchen incubator.
I was just getting ready to ask you about that.
And we don't have anything here.
We don't, because that is usually the number one issue with food sales, right? It's getting the inspection from the county health inspection. Was it once a quarter at least, if not more frequently? And and being, food prep, handling, all that kind of stuff. And the facilities are a big part of that.
Right. And see, our county, they do allow for shared commercial kitchen stations.
Which is like an incubator kind of
Yes.
spot.
And so we just don't have a list of restaurants that are willing to rent out their kitchen. And so after I did some research, I found that if we can just do a commercial kitchen incubator in the area, food trucks could use it for commissaries.
That's right.
Caterers
Because they've got to be
could rent
attached to
it
a
out.
commissary, technically.
And it would help the entrepreneurs because they're not trying to figure out these startup costs to get this brick and mortar and then the business fail just
Right.
because they're not getting people in the door. But they can still use their, plate sale tactics,
sure.
but they're actually doing it legally because they're preparing this food in a commercial kitchen. And so I'm looking for a space, hopefully I can find somewhere that was already a restaurant and
Sure.
it's just vacant, so
Sure.
it's not too much upfitting. But I want to be able to allow entrepreneurs to rent that kitchen.
Sure.
So I'm working on it.
I think that's a fantastic idea. When we get offline, I got a couple of ideas for you.
Okay, that
and I'll
sounds
throw
good.
those out to you. But that's just exciting to me.
Yeah. And it's much needed, and so I can see, it benefit in Nash County, but also benefit in Edgecombe County.
Well,
and
the
then
area, I know you work for
surrounding.
Nash County, but it really is a region. We're comprised roughly of Nash, Edgecombe County, and a little bit of Wilson, if you were going to claim our brethren to the south in Sharpsburg,
Right,
but
yeah.
and that really is all kind of one big trade area, and so we need to think in those terms and quit trying to
And luckily, meet Laura, myself, and Melissa, which Melissa's over at Wilson
Sure.
Community, and then Laura is the new director at Edgecombe. We do collaborate. We have
course you do.
a series coming up in April, but it's. The incubator is definitely something that I'm going to do on Tierra's time.
There you go. I understand that. And for the record, everybody's heard of that, right? That's
Yeah, but I know it's much needed because
Yeah.
I have one client that's really been catering out of her home for the last 10 years.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
I'm just like, okay, she knows, but she just hasn't been able to afford to get a brick and mortar. And it's like, so what
understand.
options are there for her if she needs to make a living? And this is what she is passionate about and has really invested her resources into. So
Well, look, I'm excited for you. Good luck on that.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for coming today.
thank you for having me.
Hi, this is Mayor Sandy Roberson. I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsors of the Mayor's Brief. Therrington's Auto Works and Collision Center, Rocky Mount Radiator, and Davenport Auto Park. I am grateful to each of them for their support of this program.